It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. Thanks for joining with us. Appreciate it. I see a ton of you folks out there at St. Croix Falls. I see Scurry. I see Mountain Home. It's right near me. I see Clarksville, Kittanning, Gainesville, Maryland. Gainesville, Maryland. I got an email from Gainesville, Maryland yesterday that corrected me that it's not in Virginia, it's in Maryland. Okay, so thanks for joining with us. I hope you're catching us live on our website at americasvoicenow.org. You can also listen to the program on audio at patriotfb.com and constitutionclub.ning.com. The idea is that we try to bring you the news that is current for the given day that we're doing the program, but to give you a different angle on it so that you understand it in a way that was not intended by the Ministry of Propaganda. Because their goal is to, they're like smoke bombs, right? Their job is to inject confusion and chaos into the dialogue, into the narrative, so that you can't figure out what's really going on. Their job is to sow the seeds of chaos, to keep you off balance, to keep you unfocused, and not knowing which direction to turn. I hear over and over and over from listeners who say to me, I don't know what to do. And I understand. You're being prepped to not understand. They want you off balance. They want this level of tyrannical behavior and confusing behavior to be so dismissive, so disruptive that you can't get your balance. That's the game plan. Because if you could get your balance, you could mount a defense. See, the idea is to constantly keep you in a state of confusion and insecurity. You're not sure what you should do next, how you should do it. And it's almost like every statement these people make, every action they take, every move, every law passed, everything discussed, it's all designed to accomplish two different goals. Keep you confused, and secondarily, while you're confused, to be running the ball around your defenses, with the ultimate goal, the end game, being that at some point in time, the United States is so unbalanced that when they are able to structure and engineer a collapse and a coup, and that's essentially what it will be, the coming coup, then we'll not be in a position where we can effectively fight back. I introduce you to Luis Gutierrez. This is our first topic this morning. He's telling American companies to break the law. Every institution in America should work around federal immigration laws. That's what he just said. I mean, the idea that you've got a representative of the government who's an elected official who's also simultaneously telling you to break the law is disconcerting, to say the least. But quite frankly, I would consider that to be inciting law-breaking behavior, inciting crime. Our second topic this morning will be the VA-run death panels are made up of corrupt and lazy murderers. And we're going to understand how that's happening because this VA thing is blowing wide open. 19 states now have investigations going full blast. 19. Vets are committing suicide because they cannot get the medical treatment they need, and they know they're dying. I mean, what kind of a choice is that to be given as a member of our society, first and foremost? That you cannot get medical care because you're only limited to go to the VA. You're not qualified to go to a regular hospital. And so you're you're starving in the midst of plenty. And the people that are making the decisions are notorious for penalizing whistleblowers for spilling the beans. And so we're going to suggest that, and I've got an idea for you that we're going to talk a little bit about during that segment, that there is a way for us to get around this issue, and that is to essentially create the equivalent of what I had originally suggested, which was to create these citizen and civilian ombudsman programs. And I'm going to show you how we can do that. Our third segment is Obamacare's new rules bail out the insurance companies. Is there any surprise there? They know there's a coming storm of fiscal liability associated with Obamacare. And they know that there's no way these insurance companies are going to stand there and hold the bag. And so they've put in place new rules to change it. Our fourth segment will be money designated for the poor has been misused by government employees for first-class travel tickets, fancy hotels, massages, personal expenses. This is money that was designated to be spent by government employees for the benefit of the poor. You cannot find a more egregious example. I got to tell you, I'm so sick and tired of hearing scandal after scandal after scandal burst open here. You know what the government reminds me of? It's not just the Obama administration, by the way. The same with the Bush administration. But this one is, these guys have a whole different level of it. But it reminds me of I saw a video not so long ago about a whale that had been beached on the shore, on the sand. And this whale had died, and it was just laying there. And, of course, it's huge. It's the size of a bus, right? And it had lain there and lain there and lain there. Of course, nobody can move it. It's a whale. I mean, it's heavy. It's big. And they couldn't get it back out into the water, and they didn't know what to do with it. And suddenly this thing just exploded from, the gas building up inside of it. And that's what this reminds me of, is the stench of a corrupted corpse that is exploding. The problem is that it's exploding all over us. I got to tell you, America, this is really where we have gone, and where we are right now is beyond comprehension or explanation. On Monday, Representative Luis Gutierrez from Illinois, he suggested that until Congress passes sweeping amnesty legislation, which of course there's no guarantee of, quote, every institution in America should find ways to ignore or work around federal immigration laws. He also said that President Barack Obama's Deferred Action Program was the first step in implementing more amnesty. So I guess I have a question. Is Representative Gutierrez saying that he's issuing a hunting permit on himself? I mean, that's what it sounds like, because I don't know. Is Gutierrez telling us that to work around the law, that laws don't matter? I mean, is he telling us to work around the law that prohibits people from removing him from office? I mean, a law is a law, right? Or isn't it? Is Gutierrez saying that anyone can break a law they don't agree with until a new one that's better is passed? Is that what Mr. Gutierrez is saying? Sounds like it. Is he saying that he's issuing a permit, a capture and not release permit on him? Because there are laws that prohibit that. But apparently, he feels like any law that he doesn't agree with, it's wide open to violation. I mean, he said it on the record. He was testifying in a Senate subcommittee hearing. He said every institution in America, including our military, must work around the inability of our federal government and the U.S. House of Representatives to fix our immigration system. He's calling for Americans and American companies and the military to break the law. And he gets away with it with impunity. Hypothetically, if I were to say, well, that gives us the right to go out there and get Mr. Gutierrez and remove him physically from office, I could be arrested for promoting an illegal activity. How is it that he can say it on the record and he's not in handcuffs doing a perp walk? Here is a lawmaker, by their own definition. That's what they call themselves. Lawmaker. Who's telling you, telling your company, telling your military, telling every institution in America, not my words, his, every institution in America must work around the inability of our federal government and the U.S. House of Representatives to fix the immigration system. Does that mean that every American should find ways to work around the inability of the citizens to get our federal government back under control? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Gutierrez? Because I would assume that your other 534 colleagues up in the House and the Senate would not approve of your issuing a permit on them. Clarify for me, please, Mr. Gutierrez. Are you telling me that no law matters, or only the laws that matter are the ones that you choose? Which is it? I mean, we need to understand. We have to have a better handle here. Does the rule of law exist, or does the rule of law exist only for us peasantry, while you elitists and you statists and you oligarchs sit up there and violate them at will, with impunity, with immunity? I mean, American soldiers and veterans are dying. The IRS is violating the law left and right. Fast and Furious, we still don't have answers for. The Attorney General breaks the law at will. The president lies to the American people over and over and over and over repeatedly. Is there a rule of law? Or is there not? I mean, I think we have a right to know. Meanwhile, just for driving down the road with $10,000 in your car, you can have it snatched without charges, without a conviction, because a police officer says, I suspect that you might have gotten this money in some illegal activity. And it's up to me now to then go to court to get it back. I mean, are we living in the days of the sheriff of Nottingham, where state officials, the king's men, can come and do as they please, and yet the average peasant can't take a squirrel to feed his family because it's the king's squirrel? Is that where we are, Mr. Gutierrez? I mean, Mr. Gutierrez, please explain to me and quantify for me exactly how you approve of 36,000 illegal immigrants being released back into the street after having committed violent crime against your own or your own alleged constituents. And I use the word alleged because clearly you don't represent them. You represent a foreign government, a foreign people. You don't represent the people of Illinois. You're calling for them to be subjugated under a foreign people. Of course I want to be humane, but I don't want to be inhumane to Americans while I'm being humane to people who I owe no allegiance to. There's a difference there. I get it that you're of Hispanic origin, but that should not betray your loyalty and your oath to your nation. How dare you? This kind of behavior is why our nation is coming apart, and no one has any morals. No one has any boundaries. No one has any limits. Because we look and we see it happening around us with our own alleged lawmakers who violate and break the law at will. How are we to act? If the example set forth for us by our alleged representatives breaks the law at every turn with immunity and impunity, what is the example we should take from that? I'd like to know how the other 534 members of Congress feel about Representative Gutierrez telling Americans to break the law until we can get a constitutional amendment to rein in federal government. That's what he's saying. So what we're saying is, great, we're going to go on strike. We're not going to pay our taxes. We're not going to go out there and participate. We're going to break any law we want. We want to feed cattle on desert scrub. We're not going to pay our taxes. We might even come looking for you. Is that acceptable, Mr. Gutierrez? Is that what you're saying? Please clarify for us, because we need to know. We need direction from our leaders. We need to understand what our lawmakers mean when they pass a law. We need to understand the boundaries that our lawmakers have given us. And we need to understand, do our lawmakers obligate themselves to be protected and defended within those same boundaries, or are those boundaries only for us? Please quantify for us, Mr. Gutierrez. I mean, I think we, the 14 million of us that aren't part of your little clique, are entitled to know. Where do the boundaries lie? I mean, you opened this door, Mr. Gutierrez, so please clarify for us and explain to us uneducated, unwashed masses what you mean when you say break the law. You said it, I didn't. I'm just asking you to engage in a conversation of logic and reason so that we all understand. Don't we have a right to know where the boundaries are so that we don't violate them? Don't we have a right to know? I mean, a law that people aren't aware of and don't know is a crime. I mean, you could turn around and make it a crime tomorrow morning to eat bread. And every American by lunchtime will become a felon. Especially if you don't tell us that you've passed the new bread felony law. You see, Mr. Gutierrez, you may think that everybody's on the same level as you, but we're not. We're just the unwashed, unintelligent, distracted masses. So we need your wisdom. We need you to shed light. Be an oracle for us. Help us understand what the rules are that you have set forth so that we may play by the rules you've laid out. If what you're saying is that we should all violate the law until a better law comes along that may or may not ever come along, I mean, in that case, I don't know, maybe I should go out and rob a bank until, and my claim to the judge as I'm held before him in handcuffs and shackles should be, Your Honor, I was waiting for them to make this legal. And following Mr. Gutierrez's advice, I went out and did what I felt was the right thing to do because my family needed to eat. I needed a new Xbox. My iPhone is getting worn. And I'm waiting for the U.S. House of Representatives and the federal government to fix the poverty system. I mean, I'm following what Mr. Gutierrez told me to do. I'll substitute the word person for institution. Every person in America, including our military, must. He ordered me to, sir. Must work around the inability of our federal government and the U.S. House of Representatives to fix our no jobs, our poverty system. I mean, Mr. Gutierrez told me to do whatever I've got to do to work around the inability of the federal government to provide for the jobs that they've been promising us. So I needed the money. Mr. Gutierrez told me to do this. He's my superior. He claims to be. He says he is. He ordered me to. He acts like he is. Well, you can't tell me, Your Honor, that he works for me because he ignores everything I tell him. He doesn't care. When I tell him to stop doing something, he does it anyway. He doesn't work for me, Your Honor. I work for him. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. When we come back, we're going to talk about VA-run death panels of lazy and corrupt murderers of their countrymen. I don't want another hearing. I don't even want a perp walk. I want a trial and I want executions. Murder is murder, ladies and gentlemen. And because you're too lazy to get off your fat butt to actually go and see a patient, I have no sympathy for you. We'll be right back.